This video is sponsored by Bootcamp.com. Check it out for INBDE prep and use coupon code MENTALDENTAL for 10% off.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Dr. Ryan, coming to you from Charlotte, North Carolina, and today's topic is going to be all about forgetting. Forgetting, it's something that we all struggle with to varying degrees, right? For example, let's say you're preparing for the INBDE or the ADAT or the AFK, or maybe a final exam covering a wide range of topics that you've spent all semester learning. These are things that require a lot of time invested into studying. And so let's say you're investing all this time in reading a textbook or watching videos or making study guides or doing some other preparatory work. And then soon after that, you seem to forget most of what you learned. And I've been there too. I get it. It's discouraging to spend that much time only to feel like you're forgetting a lot of what you learned. There are other examples I can think of too with memory loss. For example, not as big a deal, but I can't even remember what I ate for breakfast this morning. So forgetting is a very real thing, again, that we all struggle with, and our memories are far from perfect. In fact, a German psychologist in the 19th century named Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered what he deems the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve. I drew a little quick mock-up of this curve. It's very simple. He basically tested himself, his own memory over a period of time, and found that when you first learn something, the information disappears at an exponential rate, meaning you lose most of what you learned in the first couple of days. And then after that, the rate of memory loss seems to taper off. But on average, you forget about half of what you learned by the end of each day, which is unfortunately quite a lot. But the good news is Ebbinghaus also figured out that there were two main factors that played into how fast or slow you tend to forget things. So number one is the time that passes since the last exposure to the memory, and that we can actually recall memories for a longer period of time if we are re-exposed to them frequently. And then number two is the strength of the memory, that we can recall stronger memories for a longer period of time relative to weaker ones. So right there, we have two tools that we can use to combat memory loss, especially in the context of studying for a big exam. So the first thing we can do is to revisit the content regularly. So the more frequently you reinforce the same content over and over again, especially within a day or two of that initial exposure, the initial learning, the better that you'll remember it for the long haul. The second thing that we can do to abate the forgetting curve is to improve the initial strength of the memory. And so what I mean by that is to focus on the clarity, the relevance, and the interactivity of the content. So let me explain a little bit more. Let's break those three things down a little bit. So clarity, making the information easier to absorb in the first place will help you remember it better later. And honestly, that's what I try to do in my videos. I try to break things down, make things as simple as possible, give you the high yield information that you need to know. But let's be honest, you may need to reinforce that with a diagram or with a picture, or maybe even leaving a comment with a question that you need a little bit more explanation on something that I talked about. Those are all good things because, again, if you barely understand something after just watching a video or after reading a textbook, you are more likely to forget that thing later on. On the other hand, if you really understand something well, you spent the time, you really have a firm grasp on this content, you're a lot less likely to forget it later on. Okay, and then the second thing I brought up was relevance. So in order to remember something, you also have to assign meaning to it. This is true for anything. Again, we're focusing on the context of board exams, but this is true for learning anything. So if you can say why something is relevant to you, you'll probably remember it later on. So honestly, it's already taxing on the brain enough to store all these different memories. And most of what we see and hear throughout the day is not really worth remembering. So we need to tell the brain, hey, look, this is something that is worth remembering. We need to care about this thing in order for our brain to filter and process that information differently from all the other stuff that we're seeing day in and day out. So if it's relevant to us, especially as a future dentist, even if we have to do some mental gymnastics to convince ourselves that this thing we're learning is relevant to us, it will actually be easier to recall later on. And then the third thing I talked about was interactivity. So finally, we have to be able to interact with the content while you're learning it. And that will make us less likely to drift off and lose concentration while we're learning it. And again, I try to do this in my videos. I try to make my pre-recorded lectures engaging, but I'll be honest, nothing beats a live classroom setting where you can stop me, ask me questions literally as we're going through the presentation. And I'll be honest, I'm doing one in 2 weeks. I have a live class coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm trying to do a live class at least once every other month moving forward. So super exciting. This is an opportunity that doesn't come around too often. And if you're interested in joining, you can sign up for a free account on my website, mentaldental.com, to get notifications about these upcoming live classes. And you can, once you sign up on mentaldental.com, you can actually just go to the services tab across the top there, and you can register for the live class right from the website. You can also create a paid account on patreon.com/mentaldental. And if you join at the student tooth tier or above, you get free access to these classes while you're an active member. So 2 kind of options there for you. One is to sign up on mentaldental.com. You don't even have to sign up, but you just have to go to the website and pay directly to register for the live class. Or you can be an active member on Patreon at the student tooth tier and above, and then you'll get free access to the classes that way. But anyway, to review, the things that we need to focus on to prevent forgetting are to have frequent exposures to the content, to revisit it time and time again regularly to prevent that forgetting curve from hitting that steepest decline. And then we also want to focus on the initial strength of the memory through clarity, relevance, and interactivity. Guys, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is Dr. Ryan, and until next time, don't forget what we talked about in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to this channel for much more on dentistry. If you'd like to support me, please check out my Patreon page. And thank you to all of my patrons for their support. You can unlock access to my video slides to take notes on and practice questions for the board exams, so go check that out. The link is in the description. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.